Parents want the best for their children, especially when it comes to education. From tuition classes to enrichment programs, no expense is spared. Figures from 2008 showed that 97% of Singaporean students enrolled in tuition and enrichment classes. Tuition spending also doubled from $410 million to over $800 million between 1998 and 2008. The topic of private tuition came under the spotlight after Senior Minister of State for Law and Education, Indranee Rajah, said in Parliament that tuition is not necessary in Singapore's education system, as teachers provide remedial and supplementary classes on top of community tuition schemes such as those run by self-help groups. But parents RazorTV spoke to feel otherwise.
I think that with the limited time the teacher have with their curriculum, it seems like they aren't really able to impart with them the right level of knowledge that they really need to do. So unless they make the exam, easier, such that they do not need content out of the school curriculum, then I would think so. But right now it's not like that.
If the child is not getting enough support at home or from school, maybe extra help is needed elsewhere. Some schools I know that although the teachers, of course, they teach well. But when it comes to testing, the standard is much higher than what is taught. So I think that they still need some reinforcement somewhere, a supplement in a way.
Yeah, out of the norm when you're not sending your kid for tuition, so it becomes pressure rising for parents to actually send the kids to tuition. So especially depending on certain schools, the competition is very high, and then you do need to actually keep up with the certain standards. So I think, as much as we wish that the education in school is sufficient for them to actually cope and manage, but I think the reality is that it's not really enough. Yeah.
3 out of 5 parents RazorTV spoke to said that private tuition is necessary for students to cope in school. Majority spend an average of $100 to $500 a month on private tuition. However, there are some who feel that tuition is not a necessity.
If you ask me, I think it's not necessary, Lord. I think it's not necessary. It's very stressed on the children, I think. If only necessary, then we should provide. But some children, some parents, they force the children to go for tuition, and the children themselves don't like it. So I guess this one is we have to depend on personal law. Some children, they want it, then you give law.
Just pay attention in school and then stop the problem every day. And then review all we have learned from school daily is more important than with just go tuition. For him, his practice is he will solve his problem in school before he comes home. And then when he comes home, he can finish his work very fast, so he doesn't need tuition at all.
Does having private tuition really benefit students?
I think it helps to a certain extent because sometimes you won't understand what your teacher is saying, so your tutor is usually one-to-one, so it's quite useful.
Tuition teacher give us more tips and then more practices that school does not give us, and focuses on our weakness more.
The exams are always harder than what the teacher gives. It's better if you take tuition, then you are exposed to more.
Other tutors, the thing I find about that is they do not come into the class, they do not come into the house with something they want to teach you. They just ask you what you want to learn, but you don't even know what you need to know, so it's not that efficient.
Sometimes in class you don't get what the teacher is saying, so when you don't get the concept, it's difficult to do.
I don't think it's necessary, but it helps.
Do you think you would have been able to cope without tuition at all?
I think can lah. It will be more difficult, but it can be done.
Tuition or no tuition? MOE says while the decision to engage tutors is up to parents, it is important to allow their children sufficient rest and avoid cramming their time with too much tuition.